And boom, we are live. Welcome, folks, to the American Movie Podcast. If you've never been here before, welcome aboard. I go through movies, news, documentaries, and I do book reviews. And today's book review is The Algebra of Happiness, Notes on the Pursuit of Success, Love, and Meaning, written by Scott Galloway. I heard this on Sam Harris's podcast, or Scott, rather, and really liked him. His candor was relentless, and he was well-spoken, and he's not a serial entrepreneur. So he has 9 businesses, I believe, he's created. 3 have worked, 4 haven't, and 2 have been mediocre. And I just like how this was written. He's a really good writer, and he is also a professor at NYU, I believe. And he's got a podcast, Professor G, or Profg, coming out soon, and I believe in March or something like that. So, or check it out if it's past March. I don't know. So, The Algebra of Happiness, he uses some empirical evidence, but it's mostly what his takeaways have been since he's been a successful entrepreneur. I believe he went to one of the Ivy League schools on the West Coast. I can't remember if it was UCLA or Berkeley. I can't remember, but basically he talks about there's some humility with him too, because he talks about how lucky he was in the year he was enrolled, and he got lucky with the taxpayers allowing him to go to the school. He got a scholarship. And he just talks about his luck, but basically there's a lot of takeaways in here, but the most rudimentary ones, I think, or the most complimentary ones I think that you could take away with too is who your spouse is. They were talking about, or he was writing about how important the partner is that you take with you along for this ride, because they're going to give you kids and they're going to help you along the way with the stresses and work related and the harshness of life. That was one of my favorite things too, is the candor that he talks about. He's like, hey, it's not going to be easy. Like, people are going to die. Your friends are going to pass away. They're going to get older. And one of the biggest takeaways, I think, as well, is like your friends and the relationships that you build. So he goes through basically the success and then love, and then success corresponds with money, and then happiness too. So he's talking about stay thirsty. He always you want to make sure that you're on top of your game. You want to put forth, work very, very hard from 20 to 40. And then happiness will ensue later, basically. And you'll reap your benefits. And it's a lot of practical advice. He's like, save $1,000, and that $1,000 will turn into $10,000 in 40 years. Invest. And he also points out his own faults, where he's like, do not do as I say, do not do as I do as I say. And because he's made mistakes along the way. And I think that makes him, first, his humility is captivating and enthralling. And then you have, it just humanizes him. It doesn't make him just this doctor, professor that's just like, no, or anything like this. It humanizes him a lot. And that's what I think is so gravitating, and why I really, really enjoyed this book, and why I would recommend this book to anybody. It's a great book. And, so he talks about stay thirsty, and he also talks about embracing adulthood, and you have to grip and bear what's about to happen after you graduate. And he said the first 5 years are are the most crucial parts of after you graduate. And he also doesn't beat around the bush of your zip code, your credentials, and I believe what was the other one? It was credentials, zip code, and something else, and it's very predictive of your income, basically. And he also, more practical stuff he talks about is getting this easy stuff right. Be punctual, be nice, have manners, do not be a dick to a waiter, or do not be a dick to someone giving a presentation and not paying attention or showing up late, and getting email right as well, following up. So it's those 3 important things was be very nice, cordial, have manners, be punctual, and follow up promptly, basically. This guy, I really like this guy, and I'm going to listen to his podcast too. He has one with a woman, but he's starting a new one, so I'm looking forward to it. And another one is just believing in yourself, believe you deserve it. And he also talks about finding your voice, be charismatic, understand that you need to put yourself in risky situations and reach beyond your grasp, and you'll come out ahead, basically. And while you're doing that, you don't want to fear rejection. Just learn to accept rejection and just keep going. He goes through all of the failures that he has had, including his business, including hitting on girls, all kinds of stuff. So it's just accepting your failure and moving on, and keep failing until things work out or you learn from your failures. Because yeah, that's Scott's take on it. And then he's also, one of my favorites is, you're not Mark Zuckerberg. So he's like, if you're going to be Mark Zuckerberg, you have to understand that you have to sign checks in the front of them, not the back of them. So like being able to give thousands and thousands of dollars to people or whatever, or services. What else he talk about? Public failure. One of the biggest ones is like, you're going to eat shit in front of everybody. And if you fail, which you probably will, like the candor is just great in this book. It's almost funny, you know, how real he comes off, and he swears in this, and it's all cool. But yeah, risking public failure, you're going to do that. You're going to fail. You're going to eat shit. And then also selling. Like he's like, if you can sell, you'll be okay. But if you can't sell, you probably should be an employee. What else did he talk about? And then if you're risk aggressive. So like if you're going to have to be able to take risks, and if you're risk averse, you're probably not going to do well. Your business is probably not going to work, and things along those lines. But my favorite takeaways probably were stuff that I've came across before. So like these are my favorites anyways. Like, know the ends versus the means. So your relationships are one of the most important things that you have, especially when you're like, he basically gets to the point where it's like, if you're at a hospital bed surrounded by strangers and there's bright lights and you don't know anybody around you, you have failed as a person. Like your ending day or minute, if you're surrounded by loved ones, you have done an okay job. So this is important to cultivate your relationships today, now, from this moment forward. There's small investments that carry over to when you're 88 years old, your legs don't work, and they're pushing you through the airport, taking you somewhere so you get to spend this time with them, like on vacation or something like that. Like it's deep, and like it's brutally honest. That's what I would say. And yeah, learn from rejection. One of his things is serendipity is a function of courage. And I think that's really cool. I've never heard it put that way before. And I think that's, there's a lot inside of that as well. And then, he also talks about complete love. Focus on complete love, because that is the means, or that is the end anyways. That's the end game. You need to be able to just not expect anything in return. Just focus on giving that love, because that love is, our caretakers are one of the longest living people. There's empirical evidence behind that, and they're mostly the happiest people. It's very rewarding to give and help. So that's one of the biggest takeaways too, is just eternal love helps. And then the spouse. So 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And he gives a lot of marriage advice here. He's like, so don't keep score. Just embrace the embarrassment or the ridicule and just move on, because you love this person. It goes back to the internal love. And then that corresponds with the relationships at the end of your life matter, because if you don't do well with your spouse, your kids are going to resent you, all these things. So like, it's a boatload of stuff in this small book. And then he's also like, don't let your wife be cold or hungry. And he's like, you're welcome. And it's just like, makes a lot of sense. It's practical knowledge. So I love books like this. This was short. Like I listened to it like 1.5 speed on a plane, got done with it. And I was like, dude, I'm a huge fan of Scott Galloway now. Like it was intense, and it was just a really, insightful book. And if you can spend $10 and get a great idea, that's important to me. $10 or a Audible credit, and you can just get it and get great ideas out of it, or some lessons from a man who's already taken the path further than you have. That's worth its weight in gold. So I really like the Algebra of Happiness. Let me know if you read it. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know anything else, if you have any questions or anything. But yeah, if you want to start your own podcast, make sure you get down in the description. You can get a free, 2 free guides actually, and a free video in order to start your own podcast. That's gear recommendations, how-tos, tips, tricks, streamline the process, a lot of stuff like that. So check that out as well. But yeah, that was the Algebra of Happiness. Really love this book. A lot of insightful stuff in it. Very fun writer, Scott Galloway. So, and the subtitle is Notes on the Pursuit of Success, Love, and Meaning. So until next time, this has been Matthew Benjamin with the American Movement Podcast. Bye.